Welcome to Keep It Humane, the podcast,
where we talk about animal control, shelters, and animal welfare, and the people doing the work.
with your hosts,
Ashley Bishop.
And sometimes Ashley Bishop.
and Daniel Ettinger, helping people help animals. Welcome to another episode of Keep It Humane, the podcast with me, Daniel. I'm back, but guess it's just me and
Texas Bishop.
who, let me just say real quick, did a if y'all did not listen to the previous episode where it was Texas Bishop and anti-cruelty out of Chicago, I feel like I could literally retire right now. Like, I don't need to do podcasts anymore. You crushed it, dude.
I was wanting to throw up the entire time, but that episode only went well because the ladies over at Anti-Cruelty, shouts out to them, amazing organization and all the great things that they're doing over there. God, it was a great episode. I have
It really
to say.
was. I was listening to it on my way, so I was flying wherever I was at this point, and I kept getting mad because I had to like stop the episode to get like to where I was going. I was like, I just want to finish this already. So great job, great job. For those of you wondering where Ashley, Wisconsin Bishop is right now, she's working at a candy factory making Pop Rocks. So for those of you that like Pop Rocks candy, she's mixing those ingredients, trying not to have them explode. So again, also this episode is going to be sponsored by the Cat Tattoo Challenge. I'm going to start doing that now. You know what? If you don't know about the Cat Tattoo Challenge, it made it to Forbes. We did a whole episode on that, Forbes.com. But you can get your stickers. The whole point of getting the stickers is not necessarily to like get the stickers. Obviously, it's to get the stickers, but a portion of your sale goes to the Bissell Fix Your Future funding to help fix spay, like basically the spay and neuter. So it's like a little fundraiser kind of thing, but it's cool. Stickers. You could be part of the tattoo gang. You know, we're up to 30 people, dude.
I told you need to draw dogs, sir.
But here's the thing: is like it happened accidentally. So maybe I
I
could.
know, but still, you could still do like an offshot of dogs, so that way you can also encroach on all those people.
You're probably right about that. We'll see. We'll see when we get there once this leg fills up. But we're close. 30 people. There's like enough room for at least like probably like another 10. It's gonna start to hurt really bad
Yeah,
when it
towards the
gets
ankle.
yeah, when it gets real low, but I'm willing to sacrifice my leg so we can raise awareness to spay and neuter. So check that out, keepithumane.com/cat2, or just go to keepithumane.com and click on the cat2 tab. Also some other fun stuff on the website. So check that out. What do you got
Y'all,
going on?
Dan's been busy, okay? Like, shouts out to Dan and all the cool shit that he's doing right now and for things to come. So, shouts out to Dan, y'all. Look forward to everything that he's got coming out. Check out Keep It Humane for everything he's got coming out because there is some amazing shit that he's doing right now behind the scenes, and he's been very busy.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. How about you? How are you? You've
I'm
been busy
good.
too.
I'm good, man. Last couple of weeks have just been kind of a little mentally draining.
Yeah.
As you and I had like a quick conversation, but I'm getting better. Things are just starting to stockpile on, and next this coming Tuesday, we're meeting with our architects finally, doing our vision and planning for the new facility. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be a busy week.
That's fun.
Yeah, so we're good, and I got our second state inspection on the same day in the
Oh, wow.
morning. So we're gonna get all that taken care of. But yeah, no, everything's good. Team's good. Just rocking and rolling, man. It's busy season for us right now. I'm sure I've seen many people are dealing with kitten season right now. I mean, I have 6 mamas right now in house with 4 babies apiece right now. So shouts out to our staff.
Trying to do math really quick. 6 times. I don't even. That's a lot of cats.
6 times 4, yes. So we have a lot of kittens coming through the doors right now, but shouts out to the staff. They're doing an amazing job. Everybody's been thriving and doing well, and the mamas are doing so well. But no, man, we're good. How are you?
Good. Overall, just good. Just going through life, ups and downs. Just excited about the future. Like you said, I've been working on a lot of stuff, and I'll be happy to announce some of that stuff in the next coming weeks on the show, and then just keep checking the website. So I didn't do that
Yeah.
intentional, like keep because it's Keep It Humane, but like keep checking the website. Shall we get our guest on? She's probably sitting there like, what are they rambling about? Also,
Oh, yeah.
Ashley, Wisconsin Bishop, I know you listen to the shows you're not on. If you could drop ship some of that candy to me, I would much appreciate it. Anyway, let's introduce I'm gonna mess up your last name, and I apologize. I do this with every guest. Nicole Navarro.
Perfect.
Okay, okay. With Positive Beginnings, positivebeginnings.org, we got to talk about you being the founder, the executive director of your Positive Beginnings. Like, let's talk about the whole thing just from the ground up, like who you are, how you got involved with this. I've always told people they're not sure what I'm talking about yet with Positive Beginnings. If I ever found a baby fox kit, I'm just going to keep it and raise it as my own. Um, but maybe you can talk me out of that since you're the
I
expert.
definitely can. So, yeah, my name is Nicole, and I'm the founder of Positive Beginnings. We are down here, all the way down here in Key Largo, Florida. So we are a nonprofit, 501c3, licensed by the state and the USDA, fully insured. I always like to say that because a lot of people
Cool.
don't take those steps.
For
Um,
sure.
and so how I got started, ironically enough, we sort of talked about Hurricane Irma before we went on here. So I was living in Key West during Hurricane Irma. I was working at the Hemingway home.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I and about 9 other employees stayed in Hemingway's home with all 56 cats at the time.
Oh,
They're
Mm-hmm.
famous for having the six-toed cats down at the Hemingway home.
Yep.
After the storm passed, I reached out to the woman that runs the Monroe County Sheriff's Office Animal Farm. So down in Key West at our huge county jail, underneath the jail sits a sanctuary, an oasis for rescued, abandoned, abused, confiscated, and donated animals.
Huh.
And since they evacuated all the inmates during Irma, she stayed behind with all 100 and some animals, actually moved them up into the jail for protection. But when the storm passed, everyone had left.
mm.
So I saw that happened. And since I was in Key West, I reached out to her and asked if she needed help. And she was like, yes. So a bunch of people from the community went over, got things back in order. And she and I just formed like a really cool friendship. So it's not common for people to be able to volunteer at a jail, obviously.
Right.
Because on any given normal day, the inmates come down and care for the animals. It's like one of probably the only program of its kind in the world, just because of the diverse amount of species. I think there's over 40 different species of animals there. So anything from lemurs to sloths to, farm animals and foxes. So after the storm passed, I moved back up here to Key Largo because being down that far down in the middle of the ocean during a Cat 4 hurricane was a little bit of a turnoff. So I moved back to Key Largo, which is where my mother is, and I continued to go down there. And then at the end of 2018, 2 foxes were surrendered to her. So they had been in a private home. The owner made the correct and compassionate decision to surrender them to a facility where they would get all of the care that they needed. And I just became extremely fascinated with these creatures because growing up on a farm in Pennsylvania, you see a fleeting flash of what could have been, probably was a fox, but it's not every day.
Could have been a turkey. Could have been one of them wild turkeys up there.
Could have been. Could have been. Didn't make any noise though. So
Okay.
So the thing about foxes is, a lot of people assume or presume, and because they have no hands-on experience, that, oh, they're a mixture of dogs and cats. And while that can be true, they, possess some of the same traits or characteristics. They are 100% wild animals. So these foxes, having just been surrendered from the only home they ever really knew, they don't trust anyone, they're standoffish, they're skittish. And so I would just go about once a week. I would drive down there and I would just sit with them and I would watch them. And then one day the female fox walked right up to me and sat down and looked me up and down. And I sort of put my hand out and she didn't shy away. And then I just started scratching her underneath her chin. And from that day forward, I was her person and she was my little bestie. You know, foxes have a tendency to form a very strong bond with one or two people and just tolerate everyone else, which I love because I'm kind of the same way. I just tolerate a lot of people. Um, but it really got me thinking and doing deep dives into captive foxes in the United States. I found that most um, captive foxes come from, you know, exotic pet breeders, but
Mm.
there is
Mm-hmm.
this other hidden, not much talked about because a lot of people don't know that fur farming is still very much alive and well in the
Oh,
United States.
I was gonna
interesting.
ask that. Yeah.
Yes. So fur farming is still legal. Um, the USDA governs fur farming because
Interesting.
fox fur is considered an agricultural pursuit. So the standard of
Jesus Christ.
care and animal welfare, there are no federal humane slaughter guidelines
The
on
vegan
fur
in me is
farms.
about the vegan in me is about to come out. I'm about to get real vegan on this show because that is just crazy. So they're like, there's fox farms in the U.S. that they raise to just
There's Yes, there are fox farms in the US, there's mink farms in the US, there's coyote farms in the US. I
Bishop. You
guess
think
it's
if I put this up, I could go undercover? Look, if you're not watching on YouTube, I'm ready.
It
Like,
just it blows
hire
my
me.
mind. It
I'm
blows
ready.
my mind, Nicole, because I was gonna ask that, how do you get most of your sanctuary kiddos?
Yeah,
You don't hear it a lot. We hear it a lot as far as on the side of USDA, on the cattle side and all that stuff, but you
right.
really don't hear a lot about the fur trade because
No,
for me, I'm very ignorant in this. I'm thinking this was like back in the 1800s, but man,
right.
it's still going on strong, huh?
It is still going on. And
It's awful.
back
Awful.
in I think December of 24 at this point, the United States really got a good look at what goes on inside fur farming operations in the United States. A fur farmer in Ohio passed away, and the neighbors started calling and complaining because no one was showing up to, I'm not even going to say care for, to see
Mhm.
what was going on there. And Humane World for Animals went in, took a bunch of video, really exposed the fur farming industry, and was able to take out, I think it was 300 fox, skunk, coyote, raccoons, I think even. Um,
All the rabies vector species. People, come on.
Mm.
all the rabies vector species, but it was the first time I think the US really got a glimpse of how horrific the fur farming industry is. And it is horrific. I don't know how graphic I can get on this
Oh,
show.
girl, you could get as graphic
Absolutely.
as you want. This is keeping it
Yeah.
humane, though. There's a disclaimer. We still keep it real.
Yeah.
Okay. So, animals on fur farms are born into existence just to be slaughtered for their fur.
Mm.
And, with smaller species like mink, they gas them
Oof.
or
Ugh.
they just break their necks.
Ugh.
With foxes, they insert a metal rod, one in each end, one in the
Jesus.
mouth, one in the anus, and electrocute them from the inside out, forcing them to suffer a heart attack for about 45 to 60 seconds because it preserves the fur. They don't want to cut them in any way, shape, or form to get blood on them to ruin the fur. So in some instances, because inbreeding, poor breeding, mutilation takes place on fur farms. I mean, these animals, I'll just talk about foxes specifically from here on out, since that's where a lot of mine came from, was from a fur farm. They keep them in about 4x4 wire cages suspended off the ground in long rows. These animals have never been domesticated, so they're still hardwired in some sense to be wild.
Mhm.
So psychosis, the
Mhm.
spinning, the self mutilation, just gnawing on the wire until their teeth are ground down to the gums and bleeding. A lot of the times in the spring when babies are born, because red fox only give birth once a year.
Mm.
Um, so that just took place on fur farms and in the exotic pet trade. Ugh. Um, but a lot of these parents are so stressed out, they'll start to kill or mutilate their young.
Mm.
Few of the foxes I have, some have missing tails because their mom bit it off, missing toes, half a tail, genetic defects, birth defects. So there is nothing humane about fur farming, and there's nothing, it's 2026. We don't need people wearing real fur.
Can I just, yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, if you're listening to the show and you're like, I just want to fox something, like,
No.
First of all,
why?
stop listening to us. First of
What,
all.
like, what, like, I get wanting, like, a new iPhone but, like, why would you, what's the purpose of wanting a fox hat or a fox lined coat? Like, I don't understand when there's so many synthetic things that can replace it and it's just as soft and it's just as durable or even more durable. When I'm looking at your little guys on the website, also, I know she passed away, but if I was able to pick my favorite, it would be Libby.
Oh, she was a feisty little bitch. I loved her.
I picked the right one.
Yeah,
Um,
she was one of the first two. Her and Louie. I drove to Ohio. So I started in 2020 during the pandemic. And after spending 2 years, which I also feel is important to clarify, I spent 2 years volunteering with those foxes in Key West. I spent 2 years learning their behaviors, learning their diet, learning their specific medical needs. I didn't just jump into this because I thought foxes were cool. No, I saw a need where fur farmer at some point, sometimes they have a glimmer of whatever consciousness. I don't even think that's it, but will surrender foxes that are deemed undesirable. So I had been networking for those 2 years. Someone reached out to me like the day I got laid off here when COVID started because I worked in tourism and the Florida Keys literally shut down. If you didn't live here, you
Mhm.
couldn't cross the county line. And it was like, there's a fur farmer in Iowa that's willing to surrender 20 foxes that are no good to him. Are you ready? And I was like, screw it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's now or never. And so I said yes. So I drove to Ohio to meet the transport and picked up Libby and Louie. And from the second I met Libby, she wanted to kill me all the way up until the day before she died. And I love that. I love that, she is she is. She was who she was, and all of the foxes here have such unique, distinct individual personalities. And, a lot of people maybe that are listening are like, well, it's just a fox. Well, no, it's not. It's an individual
Mhm.
with a personality, and they are freaking hysterical. Whether, Libby was trying to like rip my throat out, or my one fox Reef will just run up and throw himself at my feet
I
when
was
he
gonna
wants.
say I was actually gonna pick
He's
Reef as
cute.
probably the most friendly one out of all the
Uh-huh.
photos that I
He
saw.
is a ham. And what's really cool is the first four I got were adults. So they were all hands off, and that was fine. I didn't get into Fox Rescue to have Fox best friends. I got into Fox Rescue because they needed a place to go.
Right, right.
Um, so Reef was the first baby I got in 2021 because his mom had started to eat him. He's
Mm.
missing half a tail and toes on his front foot. And so when Reef came on the scene, that's when our, online presence sort of really blew up because people would follow his entire journey because obviously they're adorable when they're babies, but I took him everywhere, he was just like my sidekick. And that same year, our local newspaper down here, the Upper Keys Weekly, put him on the front page. That, you know, boosted his ego at only 6 weeks old. And then they decided to give him his own weekly column. So Reef, the Fox, has been writing for the Upper Keys Weekly for the past almost 6 years now. And that, while it's adorable and it's entertaining, it's really given us a platform to talk about all the things that are uncomfortable to read. And they've never once censored me. And I think it's important to be able to educate open and honestly about that. And Reef has also won the title of best local celebrity in the Upper Keys for the last 4 years in a row, beating out every human in his category. And
That's
so I think
fantastic.
that sends a strong message too. Locally, yeah, it's adorable, but globally, it's like, these animals are worthy of life, freedom, respect. And if they happen to win an award on the way, that's great.
Mm.
But my main mission has always been to educate about the fur trade.
Mm.
So many people don't realize it's still happening here in the United States. And fur farmers are so good at hiding themselves. It's a cruel taunt because most of these farmers are in rural communities and they put their barns and sheds like in the woods. So, they know that what they're doing is seen as horrific in this day and age. But also, I mean, how insanely cruel it is for these animals to be able to like see the thing that they want the most in life uh, and never be able to attain it. So yeah, I get really fired up when I start talking about this. It's horrific. It's horrific that, and it's all for fashion. That's the most disgusting thing at all of all. Farmed animals like fox and mink aren't used for anything but their fur for luxury fashion. I mean, I don't partake in eating meat or animals of any kind, but that's sometimes the argument. Well, you can eat it. No, you can't. No one's eating fox and no one's eating mink. They're breeding and murdering just for luxury fashion.
And are they concentrated, I would assume, in like the Midwest?
Yeah. So
Okay.
most of the states that like border Canada, just because of the climate,
Mm.
and most of the foxes don't live to see their first birthday. Once their first
Wow.
full winter coat comes in, they kill them.
Wow.
God.
Do you have an estimate on how many foxes are killed a year for fur?
So globally, it's about, last time I checked, because it fluctuates. Thankfully, the fur trade is on the decline, but I think globally it's about 3 or 4 million foxes.
Jesus.
Jeez.
That's insane.
And there may be, I don't know, between 50 and 100 fur farms left in the United States. But again, the USDA stopped reporting their numbers because the fur farmers were getting threatened. So they got scared.
Oh.
I know.
Oh.
Oh, poor baby.
Oh, that's disgusting. And I feel like it translates to both companion animal and wildlife, where it's just like I feel the federal government or USDA APHIS, they just have not caught up with the times. And it's so disgusting that we're still in a spot where we're using animals for such a vain
Right.
it's just disgusting. Like it's
Right.
awful.
Well, and it's like, with the agricultural side of it, it's like the USDA has so many tentacles. Like I'm
Hmm.
under APHIS.
Uh-huh.
Fur
Hmm.
farms are under agriculture. So on a fur farm, these foxes have no rights, no expectation of any sort of quality care. But the same foxes that were on that fur farm, now that they're in sanctuary, I have a long list of rules that I have to follow to
So
stay
you're more
compliant.
regulated than a fur farm is what it sounds
Yes.
like. Yeah.
Yep. Which is fine. I'm compliant. It's not, but it's just, the disconnect uh within the same agency governing the same animals, but depending on what the animals, you know, are being treated as, it makes no sense to me.
What's been the hardest transition from, I guess, being a volunteer somewhere and then creating your own rescue at your, I don't know if it's at your house, but I'm assuming like,
It is.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I, it's like not, being a volunteer is one thing because you go down when you can,
Okay.
you spend an hour or two. Um, I think it's like anything else, like even bringing home a rescue animal, like nothing fully prepares you for the real thing. But I haven't, I was overprotective, overbearing, trying to do everything perfectly. And like that's, it doesn't need to be that way. They have a nice habitat, they have an amazing veterinarian, they have a species appropriate diet. They aren't attention seeking animals, so they don't need constant attention. I mean, I'm not even going to use the word affection because it's not really a thing. So the challenge was really a personal one for just me to get over myself. Like I'm doing everything right, and I can say that confidently, and just let them be. I don't have to, in the beginning, I was like checking on them every hour. I'm like, are you okay out here? And they're like,
I was gonna say I was reading your website as well, and it says on there that none of these guys can be released into the wild.
oh, so, that's the thing too. I got a lot of hate, not so much anymore because more people are starting to understand because a lot of places do have foxes now, and we all try to push out the same message. These animals that come from fur farms are about 80 to 100 generations removed from any wild fox. So nowhere like in their direct lineage of families has anyone ever been raised in the wild and gone through that critical 6 months of learning how to survive in the wild. Do they see a lizard and chase it? Yes. Do they kill it by accident? Do they eat it? No. So, it's also illegal. It's considered cruelty, to release a captive animal that's never learned how to survive in the wild into the wild. And because they are so genetically different, I'm sure you can see on the website, most of them are not normal colors. So those are fur farm colors.
Okay.
So they breed them over and over and over and over again. And then eventually, most mammals have recessive genes. So eventually some weird color will pop out and then they exploit that. There's about 70 different colors that come from fur farming that are not natural at all.
And then when they breed them, I'm sure that that's not humane either, similar to like maybe how they breed in animal fighting, like they force them to mate,
Yeah. I mean,
etc.
they put them in cages together, during mating season, which is late winter, early in the year, because most fox kits are born like March, April, May. So yeah, and people are like, well, if it's such a stressful environment, why are they mating? Well, most people don't realize that animals will, out of a stress response, mate. They're cooped up with each other, they're stressed out, it's a way to release stress, as awful as that is. That's what happens.
Honestly, though, I mean, people need to think about how evolution works and all the stressors that were happening when evolution happens. Of course, I mean, it's just a natural instinct. Come on, people.
Right.
True.
Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. So everybody that you have at the sanctuary right now, kind of what is their lifespan after you get them from these horrible places? I can only assume that some of them don't make it very far once they come through because of the inbreeding, and I'm sure all the uh congenital issues that they have. So kind of what is the lifespan after you receive them in your care?
So like that's the really horrific thing I didn't think about.
Hmm.
Because with Libby, she was young. She was about 5. I mean,
Ugh.
in the wild, they typically don't live past 5 years. It's 3 to 5, but that's predators, that's disease, that's human conflict. But I never know what those hidden genetic illnesses are until it's too late, because again, they are still very much wild. So they will hide that they do not feel good until they are ready to die. With Libby, I came out one day and she looked at me and I just knew something was wrong, and I rushed her to the vet, and she died overnight. Just total organ failure. I had a necropsy done. She had just turned yellow, her entire insides, just complete
Jaundice.
organ shutdown. And But again, 2 days prior, she was running around screaming at the other fox. They just hold out. They hide that pain until the end, and it's brutal because I don't know. It can be 10 to 15 years, or it can be much shorter. Jasper, a fox I had that spent 4 years on a fur farm because he was used for breeding, just passed away last November, and no one expected him to live as long as he did. Not even me. But, he was a survivor. He was a trooper. He fought for his life from the day he got here until the day, he passed away. There's some good comparison videos of him far back on my social media, but when he came, he couldn't walk. He was skinny. He had infection in his head. They didn't even know how he'd been eating, and the vet was like, you might have to make a decision based on his quality of life. And I mean, I've said this before many times, we got home from the vet that day and I looked at him. I said, man, if you want to fight, I will fight with you. I will fight for you. We will get you to some sort of state where you are happy and healthy. And he did. I mean, he fought. He had a private veterinarian that came here once a month for him. He got red laser therapy. He got Adequan. He got it all. He got it all. And, he was dubbed by our followers, King Jasper, because since he couldn't jump, he had such bad arthritis. I would let him out in the front yard with the dogs, and he would just patrol the yard like all of Key Largo was his kingdom. We discovered he liked Fig Newtons, so people would send him Fig Newtons all the time. And then, last year, his body just gave out. His spirit was still there. He wanted to fight, but he lost all movement in his hind end. And while I would have spent the money for an MRI and a surgery, it wouldn't have been fair, because even the few days that I had him in the house in a crate, he was just progressively getting more miserable and was refusing to eat. And then the final straw was the morning he passed away, he started self-mutilating. And that is something that wild animals do when they can't feel a limb. A lot of times in the wild, if an animal gets stuck in a trap, they'll chew their own foot off to get out of the trap. So because he could see his legs, but they weren't doing anything, he started self-mutilating his back legs. And that, even though I would have done anything, it would have been for me, and not for him. So that day, his veterinarian drove all the way up from Key West, and, he passed peacefully in the front yard with the sun shining on his face. But yeah, it's just, stuff like that, it makes me sad, but it also just pisses me off that these animals are still being born into these situations where ultimately, whether they die on a fur farm or, in a loving sanctuary, it's the horrors of their past that bring them to that point.
Talk about the events and such that you do in the community, how you raise awareness, like how you create, I guess, like support around the work that you're doing, fundraising, all that good stuff.
So I think the coolest thing that's come of this, and it definitely was not my idea because I'm not that smart, was I was introduced to the presidency, I don't know what she is, manager, executive director of a women's treatment center here in Key Largo called Kinder in the Keys. And it was just like a proposition, like, oh, it'd be something cool for the ladies to do, to, meet a fox, something different while they're here in Key Largo in treatment. So it started as that. And then sort of what it grew into was sort of me sharing bits and pieces about my personal journey, my past, sharing the foxes' stories of survival and overcoming, seeing where they came from to where they are now, you know. And the common theme was, having a community or people around you that really want you to succeed and thrive. And that sort of animal assisted healing program, it's not therapy because obviously foxes aren't therapy animals, but the therapist started using the fox's stories of overcoming trauma as a therapeutic tool with their clients. So that took off.
Mhm.
We've been in that partnership now for 4 years. And then the Florida Keys Children's Shelter found out what we were doing and they wanted in on it too. And that partnership has just now entered its third year. So I would say community wise, that is the thing I'm most proud of. Since I'm sort of a one woman show here,
Yeah.
doing in-person fundraisers is
A lot.
exhausting because
Yeah, I bet.
I have a full-time job. I'm the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce in North Key Largo.
Oh
I
wow.
also manage the social media for the Florida Keys Children's Shelter and a film company out in California. So
Oh wow.
I always like to say that I make my own money. I don't take the Fox's money. um, which is important too, because that can,
Mhm.
yeah, that can get tricky, especially when nonprofits start misappropriating funds and, their founders and executive directors are going to Paris and the Bahamas and wherever they go.
Mhm.
And I like working, and I made a commitment to sell myself when I started that I would never take on more than I could handle by myself,
Mm.
um, because this is my home. So having staff and volunteers here when I'm not here doesn't make sense. And yeah, I've kept it small. I've kept it manageable for me. I do have people I trust to come and feed the foxes and, clean their enclosures if I do go away. My mother being one of them. She's the reason I'm so animal welfare addicted, I would say. So, yeah, the community is, I could not be doing this anywhere else in the world. The Keys are so weird, wild, and wonderful. There's never been like a complaint, like, oh my God, there's foxes. And like, no, it's like, oh, cool. Can we see them? Like, oh, you're doing what? Oh, the cops come. Oh, you take the babies to visit. We got invited last year to the county courthouse.
Hmm.
The judges wanted to see the baby fox. I have a photo of one of the judges just like snuggled up against I like it's such a unique community down here that the support I receive, like I would say the emotional support I receive is priceless. So most of my fundraising is focused like online or through
Are,
like people can sponsor the foxes, just
sure.
make general donations, stuff like that.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
And
Yeah, and
it's
being such a small community as well, like it helps concentrate a lot of what's going on and bring in awareness. That's
Yeah, so many people didn't know. They're like, "What?"
I didn't know.
so check it
Well,
out.
and
Honestly.
it's
Positive
intentional.
like
Oh,
paw like positivebeginnings.org. I just want people to know where to go in case they're wondering. So
Oh, thank you.
positivebeginnings.org. And we'll link it in the show notes too.
yeah, everything is it's so informative, folks. Like again, I'm very ignorant in this side of, animal welfare and the website really does give you a lot of good information about what's going on when I'm so ignorant in this topic and this is awful. It's just awful.
It's I you know it exists, you just don't want to think about that exists, right? Like you know that they I mean, you think in 2026 there wouldn't be fur farming, especially in this country anymore, but let's be
Right.
honest, vanity rules everything, unfortunately.
Mm.
It's sad. It's sad. It really is sad. Um, so well, this is great stuff that you're doing. I next time I'm in South Florida, I might have to hit you up if I
But
don't.
yeah,
I know you're not open to the public, but like
well,
maybe
I mean, friends, friends
yeah,
and family. Yeah,
because like I said, I really would. I mean, they're just so cute. Baby foxes are the cutest things.
So you would want to return it to the wild at about 6 months of age, because that's when they hit sexual maturity and stop being cute and turn into a wild animal.
That makes sense.
You
There's
heard it
no
first,
way to
folks.
domesticate them. I mean, they can be tame, but and that's another horrific thing too that we could probably do a whole episode on is the exotic pet trade.
Yeah.
It's horrific, and especially here in Florida and Texas.
Uh-huh.
Texas is bad.
Yeah, it is. I'm from a border town, and I can't tell you how many animals that they have found trying to cross the border. There's a tiger kitten that was found in a suitcase just across the border, and I mean, it's just it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, wild animals don't belong in people's homes. And that's my final statement. I don't think I need to elaborate anymore on that. Like, wild animals do not belong as people's personal pets in a private home.
Talk about
Amen.
being down there in Florida. Like, is there any predator that tries to come and visit your home, like
No.
to try to get to these little guys, or nothing? There's
No.
just nothing. Okay, that's good.
No, because I mean, really, here in the Keys, we don't have large land mammal predators.
Okay.
They would be the predators. They got out. Obviously we have gators and crocs and snakes, but we don't have large land mammal predators in the Florida Keys.
That's good. That's good.
It's a good question. I don't know. Florida's scary to me.
I feel like some of the cockroaches down there are bigger than these foxes. Like, I'm not even lying.
Probably.
Oh,
yeah, and they
God.
fly.
Yeah, they fly. Also, you're on Facebook. You have a really good following there, Pawsitive Beginnings Inc. on Facebook, or you're also on Instagram as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, just so people can check it out. And then Reef the Fox is on TikTok if you're doing TikTok. So
yeah, I always forget about TikTok.
Same.
It grosses me out every time I go on there, so I just away. TikTok's scary.
Humanity is just scary, man.
Yes.
What time it is, right, Bishop? Shall we?
Yes.
Time.
Go for it.
Nicole, I don't know if you know, our listeners know. When we get towards the end of the show, we like to highlight what does AI know about our guest. And
oh gosh.
So we plug your name into ChatGPT.
Oh.
It literally just says the same things that you said, but I'm going to read it anyway because AI is incredible. If you're not embracing AI, you're just going to be left in the past, in my opinion. But that's a story for another day.
Word.
Nicole Navarro is an animal rescue advocate and founder, executive director of Pawsitive Beginnings, a nonprofit sanctuary in Key Largo focused on rescuing foxes from the fur trade and providing animal-assisted healing programs. A few notable details about her background. She grew up on a horse farm in western PA and later moved to the Florida Keys. She began volunteering at the Monroe County Sheriff's Office Animal Farm in Key West after Hurricane Irma, where she first worked with foxes. See, it already knows all this stuff, same stuff. You founded Pawsitive Beginnings in 2020 to rescue foxes from farms and exotic pet trade. Has spoken publicly about recovery from addiction and using animal rescue and therapy work to help trauma survivors, at-risk youth, and first responders. You can learn more through Pawsitive Beginnings or your LinkedIn page. That's pretty dang cool.
Wow.
Pretty accurate.
Wow.
It's scary, man. It's so scary.
Well, at least it's all true. I mean,
and it's all good. Like everything's all good. Like the whole thing, like that's the reality is you're doing great work. And I think the more that we can push this stuff out there, like our listeners, I'm sure had not thought like it's not a conscious thought to be like, oh, there's fox fur and things in 2026. And now that they know, right, whether they're in the animal control world, animal shelter world, or just a listener that likes animals, like this hopefully exposes them to understand how serious this really is. And I think with the future of animal welfare in general, this is one thing that we have to get.
That shouldn't be a thing anymore, honestly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. I mean, if they can make leather out of apples and oranges and cactus,
yes.
You can buy synthetic fur. It looks the same.
Yeah,
Seriously.
you're absolutely right without a doubt.
Is there anything you got coming up, Nicole, that you want to tell our listeners about, or anything cool going on in the next couple months?
So a couple months ago, I released a book. It's on Amazon. It's
Oh,
called Reef the Fox Finds His Purpose. And it's a really cute story about how Reef finds his way from a bad place to the Florida Keys and then befriends children that need it the most. Yeah, it's really cute. I had a really great time writing it because it's all based on true events, obviously, which, I think makes it more relatable. Yeah, and I'm featured in a documentary that was directed by the creator of the Disney Plus series Pick of the Litter. So it features three stories of people and their relationship with animals. So it's not out yet. It's screening at select cities across the country, but it's called Unspoken Bond, and the trailer is on YouTube. If you search Unspoken Bond, it should come up. A lot of things may come up, but it's out there.
that's really cool. And the book, just in case you're wondering, on Amazon, it's 5 stars. So,
Mhm.
if you have any kiddos or you just want to read it yourself, it looks really cool. It looks
I
really cool.
know. I'm excited. I'm excited when some of our guests do tell us that they have children's books because with our new facility, we're hoping to bring in children into the new facility so we
Aw,
can do reading and things like that.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with our listeners, Nicole, before we wrap it up?
no, I mean just the parting phrase of please don't wear fur or support companies that sell fur. Even if you go into a store and you're not there with the intention to buy fur, you like their perfume, but there's fur, don't do it because it's still supporting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Ugh.
Good point. Well, again, check out the website positivebeginnings.org. And like we like to say here, fox around and find out. I'm sure you hear that all the time down
Yeah.
there. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
and again, we love to help people
Help animals.
and keep it
Keep it
humane.
humane.